It's interesting, especially during the era that I grew up, because it's Brooklyn where I grew up is not the same as it is today. The block I grew up on, we had people from around the world, so I kind of grew up in the United Nations. You know, I had my friend, my friend Pop, his parents were from Jamaica, but then I had another friend, Joe, he was actually Chinese. Then I had another guy that we still don't know where he was from. He just looked kind of weird. He was kind of a mixture of different things. He was a mutt. So we had that. I started traveling at a really early age. When I say travel, I mean travel within New York. So I grew up in Brooklyn, but by 11, 12, I was jumping on the train. Once I found out there was a train that would take me from where I was to where the rest of the world was, I was heading into the city all the time. You know, going to Chinatown. I spent every Saturday, probably throughout most of my teens, in Chinatown, watching martial art movies. I traveled into Midtown Manhattan. It was interesting because my friends that lived in Brooklyn seemed to most of them were afraid to do what I did. So then they kind of vicariously lived through me because it was like, he's the crazy guy. What did he do? And I met famous people. I met famous people. I got a job interning at a law firm at 16 only because I was there. So I kind of, growing up in New York, for me particularly, was extremely interesting because I saw the world. I mean, I left to go in the Air Force at 19, but by the time 19 rolled around, I had seen the world through New York City eyes. As far as I'm concerned, don't put me in a box. I see the world the way the world is. I see the world, especially now, in the 21st century, the world has shrunk. So I handle diversity, well, let me back up. One of the reasons, as I said, about living in New York, one of the reasons why I'm so open when it comes to diversity is because throughout my life, I've never been in a box when it came to that. I had, like I said, I grew up on a street that had all kinds of different races. By the time I was 27, I had traveled to every continent except for Antarctica. So how do I handle, it's like if I can land in Hong Kong and get on an escalator and a girl wants to feel my dreadlocks because she's never seen them before, if I can handle stuff like that, what else is there for you to throw at me when it comes to diversity? My personal definition, I guess, of entertainment is business. Unlike most people that work in the music in the entertainment industry, I see everything through a business lens. So I don't tend to get caught up with personalities and whatever is the way most people do it. I filter everything through a business perspective, and the end of that filter is how do you monetize it? So entertainment, business, money. That's how I see entertainment. Well, explanation for the music industry. When I first got into it, it was 30 years ago. And for lack of a better term, the best definition I can see, and I wrestle with this all the time, is it was really kind of like an old boys club. You had record labels, managers, booking agents, all these various entities that controlled it. They were the gatekeepers. And basically, if you didn't play the game they wanted, you didn't get the ball. The difference I see now is they have become obsolete. So pretty much anybody, and literally I mean anybody because you don't even have to be that talented, anybody that has the drive to make it in the music industry, I think they stand a very good chance. The problem is most people don't understand that, so they still try to find managers and record labels and booking agents and all that stuff. But technology has pretty much made them obsolete. Basically, continue growing your skill and go take business classes. learn about business. Because the music industry is only business. One example is if you look at the 3 major labels that left, and just imagine when I came in the industry 30 years ago, there were about 20. Now there's 3. 2 of them are investment firms. They're owned by money people. And they look at it as a business. They're going to look at you as a commodity. So if you don't understand business, then you're going to have a hard time. I won't tell you you won't make it, but you're going to have a hard time. So my best information is learn about business. No, it was hard. It was hard. My daughters really literally grew up without me. I was like, I'd come home and, they'd, usually when I came home from a tour, I got home in the daytime when they were at school. So they'd come home and I'd be there. And, we would just make the best of it. We would just make the best of it. But, I did take my daughters when they were out of school, they traveled with me. So my daughters got the benefit of traveling because they did travel with me different places as I traveled. And, just did the best I can, or I could. And I have 2 daughters that live on the East Coast now in New York, and we do Skype. We do actually Google Hangout meetings. Once a week, my grandkids, my daughters, we all set an appointment, and we jump on Google Hangout, and it's a blast because they still act like they did when they were kids. So they bicker at each other, they call each other names, they say, Daddy, tell her to stop being, they still grown with children and they still act like they're the kids. But it makes it so much easier. If I had that when, I can only imagine, I laugh to myself sometimes because I can only imagine if I had FaceTime when I was in the music industry, when I was traveling, I should say, touring, I would have been getting all kinds of FaceTime messages with one kid telling on the other. That's an interesting question. That's a really good question, actually, because I think one of the reasons why I work with so many of them and I was so successful is because, as I said, I always looked at it as a business, so I never got caught up with the personality. I can tell you some big name acts that would throw tantrums because I didn't do something, and then when they were finished, I'd be like, "You done? Okay, you need to get on stage." And they said it. They were like, Greg is the get things done guy. He's not getting caught up in any of the other stuff. I could do whatever I want. And when I'm finished, he's like, okay, you got 15 minutes. Get on stage. I saw it as a business. Traveling, doing shows, whatever we were doing. Your job as the artist was to get up on stage and perform. My job was to get you up on stage. So all that other stuff was extra. And I didn't let it bother me. So that's always been my thing from time in the industry. You meet people or you got friends you grew up with or whoever it is, and they need tickets. I've had people backstage tell me that they were the particular artist's cousin. And I was like, well, if he's cousin, why didn't he leave you tickets?
Stop playing with that.
Oh, sorry. My position was if you were his cousin, he should have left you tickets. I'm sorry, and go about my business. And I've always looked at tickets and things like that, again, business. They equate to money. I've had arguments with artists because they would give away tickets like it was free. And I would have to explain to them, do you realize each of these tickets costs X amount of dollars? So you just gave away $30,000. So that's basically how I dealt with those people. I had a lot of haters because they hated me because I didn't do what they wanted. But it's money. At the end of the day, especially now, I might digress, dealing with these younger artists that are coming up, as you asked me about, they really have to get to understand quickly that tickets equate to money. And if you're going to have a big entourage and your friends hanging out with you, you're paying for that. You're giving away tickets because he was your boy in high school, you're paying for it. And if he was really your boy, he'd buy tickets because he'd support you. Someone that wanted to be on the business side of entertainment, I would tell them to learn business because The music industry, in my opinion and from my experience, is no different than any other industry out there. What I like to compare, I've spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley in the last few years, and I'm always dealing with startups up there. And what we go through with these startups is exactly what I went through with the artists. Of course, I wasn't getting them on stage or they weren't performing, but they're coding and creating their apps or whatever the program is, and they need to get funding, which to me, a VC is a record label. You know, so, everything correlates. So as a person that wants to get in the industry, again, learn the business. You'll probably have a huge advantage over everybody else because everybody else is just trying to get the hook up because they know somebody. And, I've gone out on the road and I've met acts and it's like, oh, this is my brother. He's my tour manager. The guy has no idea. He doesn't even know how to book a hotel. But he's the brother, so he's the tour manager. So now they're in the lobby. I check in the hotel and I get upstairs in 15 minutes. They're down in the lobby for an hour. The rooms aren't ready. Nobody advanced the rooms. Learn business. Learn all the various elements of what you want to do, and it'll be easy. It won't be as difficult as you think. This is going to sound weird, but I consider music to be a drug to some people. And I have friends that they've told me, they're musicians, guitar players, singers, whatever. They've told me at least 5 times since I know them that they were giving up music and they were going to go become an astronaut or astrophysicist or whatever. And the next time I see them, yeah, great, listen to this. I did this track. It's a drug. They can't get it out of their system. And for people like that, I know that's what they're supposed to do for a career. Well, in today's time, the 21st century, those people can actually use the things that the technology that's out there, the apps like you said, and the Skypes and the Google Hangouts and the social media, and they can actually use those things to build their careers. What I want to do is show them that. I'm Greg Coakley. That's my chapter and verse.